لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. السلام عليكم. From time immemorial, human beings needed to stabilize their understanding of humanity. How to deal with the mother, the father, the neighbor, the tribe, the hunting, gathering, centuries wandering on the earth, all the time in hope, all the time with expectation that they will always touch a zone of contentment, which is the entry point to happiness. Everyone is the same. We all want the same thing. No two people are ever the same, not a minute ever is the same as the previous one. So this amazing challenge, who are we, where are we going, what is death, what comes afterwards, who am I, who are you, why do we differ, why do we agree, how can we have harmony and then disagreement, how can there be pleasure without pain, and on and on and on. Thousands of beings woke up to a simple sketch or a map that we are all in a zone of duality, imbalance. Sometimes they complement each other and add, and something better and stronger emerges. That is cooperation. Some other time there's competition and they nullify each other. Like the waves in the sea. They can add and multiply and grow bigger, or they can balance and equate. These reflections and wanderings of many of human beings all over the world produce what we call the prophets or the messengers or the apostles or whatever name you give them. They were people whose consciousness was at a higher level, or their inner connectedness was with greater, if you like, state of consciousness and awareness than others. And so they often were followed, and people found it advantageous, like we do, to have an advantage in learning from somebody who's an expert in something. In the medical situation for your health, you like to have access to people who know more about how to bring back the balance. For those who can calibrate themselves with the highest in them, you also like to learn some technology and how to do it. What is the prescription? Everyone wants to save themselves. No human being ever is spared this drive to wake up fully to the ultimate potential, the highest level. That's why the most frequently announced words ever is Allahu Akbar. That reality, that truth, that consciousness is greater. It's not great, it is absolutely boundless. So our soul, our spirit, what is in our heart is boundless. And then the culmination of these few thousands of years of wanderings on the edges of the Mediterranean, or a bit more to the west or more to the east, what we generally term as the Abrahamic line, which resonated very much with the Hindu scriptures and with the also other Zoroastrians and so on. It's the quest of humanity. It's not a preserve of a certain color or people or a geography. Is that in our psyche, in the human soul or spirit, there is a drive that wants to equalize, balance the visible, the discernible, the mental, rationality, sensibility, correctness, balance, justice, and then go beyond that. We're all the same. as humans, we have no option other than being accountable. In that, essentially, each one of us, irrespective of gender or age, we are potentially the same. A divine package, which we call my soul or my spirit or me. So unless I treat you and he and she potentially exactly as myself, and that's why if I harm you, I am indirectly or maybe posthumously or later or whatever, I'm harming myself. Because the declaration of most of these people is that there is one model of the self, one soul. That's what it means. I'd like to share with you a few surahs, briefly. It will only be 5 hours. No, whatever. I don't have a watch. But so, it will be enough. It's not quantity. If you get one fullness of all its dimensions of a surah, you've got it. We have a very rich tradition in the Muhammadi Quranic, if you like, gifts.
Surah Shams.
Shams, yeah.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها فقد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها.
A magnificent surah gives you a good sample of this miraculous unveiling of the Quran. It gives us glimpses of the cosmic side of our existence, of the highest aspect of creation, which is to do with all the planets and galaxies and the earth and the sun. And then it switches on immediately to the self. We are the same also. We have the sun and the moon and that which comes first and what follows, and all the intricate programs that the faculties and the organs within us respond to. Can you translate?
By the sun and its heat.
What?
By the sun and its heat.
You know, the Arabic language is a very rich oral feast, like the Aramaic language. So, from the same word, it's a bit like a tree. So many branches emanate, but for every sentence, a very specific meaning is the foundation. But that specific meaning also alludes to other connectedness of, if you like, other hues or other colors of the rainbow. So it says, and wonder about the sun. And part of the duha also is its effulgence and its major, midday or before والضحى الشمس والقمر, and then what follows it is nothing without a reflection or a follower or with it or affected by it. So the same thing is your spirit and your self, your lower self. One of them follows the other. The so-called self, my animal self, my biographical self, is like the moon, and my soul or spirit is like the sun, because the moon is part of the solar system. It follows that. الشمس والقمر إذا تلا, it follows it, تلا.
And the moon when it reflects the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And the day when it clearly reveals it. And the night when it covers with a veil.
There it is. So again, night and day, sun and moon, birth and death, and all of the balance of dualities. So if you just reflect upon anything in life, anything that is experienceable within the senses, it is balance between these two, which as people who want to live well and go beyond that level of wellness even, you find that we are all the time trying to put this in balance and then transcend it. All of our five senses, which connect with the outer world, and have them sharp, clear, so that we can interpret. So as we have furqan, is it up, is it down? So that we appreciate what is a virtue. Virtue is that which leads to my happiness. Vice is that which leads to my misery. Simple as that. So, and my happiness is such that I begin looking at my physical tranquility or balance, health, reasonable state, calmness, quietness, and moves on to a healthy mind, to a purer heart, until such time you find all vices and virtues emanate from the same source, energized by that source, returning back to the same source. So within humanity, each one of us have to accept these values. We can't say, never mind, it's only me. And it doesn't work. It will come back on you. Whatever you do to anybody else, because there is no elseness in reality, will also affect you. There is one self. Allah says, I created the whole creation from one soul. So the origin of it is oneness. The sustenance of it is by oneness. So otherness is only an indicator, which if we treat it with respect, we are in a good state of tranquility, balance, peace, harmony, all of these things which we like. And if you don't, then it brings about warfare and discord and animosity. What we are seeing or experiencing in the world, you find most people saying it is an exceptionally dangerous world we are living in. It's true from a point of view, but also is far less dangerous or problematic or awful as it was 100 years ago. And 100 years ago was much better than 300 years before, and on and on. What I'm trying to share with you is that the time you are living in is the best possible time ever. Otherwise, where is mercy? But we don't read it because we are colored by the past, our nostalgia, our emotions, our fantasies, all of the other mythologies that we have bought. So you are looking at the present day through all of these lenses, so you say it's terrible. What a terrible world. No. You are accusing then the Creator. If you have a faith or belief or trust in Allah, then you are accusing Allah not being the true governor of it all. So watch out if you pretend to be pious or religious or whatever. Don't ever say how awful. It's not true. Or ever say, I am very disappointed. Actually, you are revealing your ignorance. That means you had some expectations and it didn't come to fruition, and now you are disappointed and therefore you want to blame somebody. And there are many candidates to come forward to make themselves as to be blameworthy. So of course I knew it. Actually, I wasn't sure if it is him, but he had a bad influence. He had a friend, and on and on and on and on. You're all the time looking for the thief, and that efficient thief can never be caught. It runs away. As soon as you appear, it's gone. That is called your lower self, your animal self. So look at all the animals. As soon as you appear, because they fear this animal on two legs. He's the most dangerous of all. They immediately scurry around and hide. They want to protect the secret they have, which is the nur of Allah in them, which is the animal soul. Because they don't trust this beastie is going to eat the head and the tail and roast this part and the other part. So,
and the heaven and he who constructed it, and the earth and he
see,
who expanded
again, the
it.
duality. There is no celestial without terrestrial. There is no terrestrial without it being inseparable in reality from the celestial. Heavenly, earthly, visible, invisible, sublime and ridiculous, at the same time and in no time.
And the self and he who made it balanced, then he inspired it to understand what is wicked for it and to have fearful awareness of what is right for it.
The Quran cannot be given a very specific and rigid, if you like, translation or interpretation. That's why we have to all the time refer back to the different levels of its meanings. Self is often used either to mean the lower self and many, many times also to mean the soul, the higher self, because they are inseparable in reality. My ego, my animal self, my self-concern, and all of the other things are the outer manifestation of my soul or my spirit or the divine light within me. And therefore, my ego or my lower self or my animal self is equally a good pointer towards my own soul. Myself can never be satisfied with anything. Ask anybody what is enough for them. Ask them to give you a wish list and tell them that they will have no other wish list. They have to do it right now. Everybody tries to reserve a bit of possibility just in case in 2 years' time I may want something else. You know, because the self, the lower self, is only a color, is only a flavor of the soul. And the soul is ever content, ever perfect, is cosmic. And this entity is ever changing because it is within the field of duality, of space and time. So you want to preserve, no really, I won't give you all my wish list now. I can give you most of it, but just in case, I want to reserve. We always want to have an insurance. We always like to live longer because your soul is alive forever. So you interpret it longer. Longer, how long? Can you imagine if one of you is going to be told now that you live until the age of 360 years old? How many sets of teeth you're going to need? And how many languages you have to change? Even the Swedish language spoken now will not be the same. As for the krona, well, the 1 krona now will be probably many, many more zeros because we're all greedy. So inflation is a natural thing. Everything will be within inflation. And everything will be, needing more and more zeros in it. It's natural. If all of us, each one of us wants to get something for less, so we are the makers of inflation. And these other people, like trapeze artists, try to be like economists, like people who can try and balance it and up and down. It's endless. It's because of the nafs. So if you have one problem, it is your nafs. And if you have one solution, it is through your nafs. This is how it is. That's why some people call it mysticism or what. There is nothing mystical about it. All of it is in the now. The now is timeless and has the biological, biographical, of time. So we are both riding on the arrow of time and we are in perfect stability of timelessness. At the same non-time. This is something you cannot resolve rationally because rationality is up and down, good and bad, healthy or ill, alive or dead. But this is another zone. That is why each one of us is subject to 2 zones of consciousness. One is conditioned consciousness, the me and the you and the it and the weather and the this, and all the senses that connect, the touches, the feeling, the wind, and another zone that is beyond description. People refer to it bliss and joy. These are all misleading terms because we love pleasure and ease. But we know also with ease comes difficulty. We also know with pleasure comes pain. But we want something that has no repercussion, no price, like what the soul does to us. Unconditioned love. No bargaining, no negotiation. It's a gift. That's why we all love to have gifts. That's why also the commercial enterprises know exactly how to hook this animal because he loves gifts. So suddenly say, you know, you are our valued customer. You have won this week's prize. Oh, you see, I always knew that I'll win. I always knew that I'm very special. I always knew that, I'll be valued. I always knew that God loves me. It is that His creation didn't know who I am. Nor do you know who you are. So never mind. You have to smile at it.
He will indeed be successful who makes it grow in purity, and he will indeed fail who corrupts it.
I don't like this. Anyway, we have to go to the meaning. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Tazkiyah is purification or modification or grooming or watching or putting it into its appropriate use. The animal in me has its usage. I have empathy, I have sympathy, I relate, I connect. I like this grass, I don't like that, I like this meal, not that, and it's furqan. So you have beautiful disclosure in Surah Al-Rahman. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman. Allama al-Quran. Quran is that which contains everything. Is the gatherer. Is al-Jami', majmu'a. It is, everything is in the Quran, in that which you and I read. Iqra, qara'a, from the same word. Iqra, iqra what? Read it according to where you are. As a child, you like this more than that. As a teenager, you have different priorities. As a 30-year-old, you have different. As a 50-year-old, you have different priorities. And so on and so on. So, iqra, read it. See things as they are. So, Ar-Rahman, Allama al-Quran. The knowledge of how to connect is in every situation. كُلٌّ يَعْمَلُ عَلَى شَاكِلَتِهِ. Everything that exists actually announces, vibrates, discloses its state of reality. Your voice says something. Your eyes say something. Your body language says something. If they coincide, then there is coherence. If they don't, then you say, I'm confused. He said, welcome, welcome, but he had a knife in his hand, about to stab me. So, so get back to the old Roman way of governing, which is now prevailing also, of course, in our world. So, Allama al-Quran. Then this ultimate consciousness insan. Then, this is the word. Now bayan. Discriminating. This is not appropriate, this is right, this is... In winter you don't do this, in summer you don't do that. With ignorant people you greet them and run away, and so on and so on and so on. You're not here to turn the world upside down. Get into your own primary project and projection. Find out who you really are. Be at that zone and you will never have regrets. You have no sorrow. You have no fear. It doesn't mean you are foolhardy. Fear is an essential part of preserving life. Every one of us has to preserve life within us. Every one of us has no option other than survival. So this is the whole issue of insaniya. You need to bring your humanity to the optimum level, whilst referring to the divinity within you. The more frequent that is, the more you are in balance between here and not here, heavenly, earthly. There are always twos. There are two knowledges. One is mental, rational, sensibly. You can share it. You say, is that the right time? Most people will agree, say, no, it is raining. You can't go and sit half naked to sunbathe. It doesn't make sense, you know, so you will catch a cold and so on. Most people agree on rationality, reason. We have, and that is why we like to communicate at a level there is a consensus. That's why over centuries of fighting and killing, some different forms of democracies emerge. That everybody must have a voice. Everybody wants to have a respect. Everybody wants to be respected. Everybody wants to be honored. Most of the East and the so-called Muslim world, the suffering is because the individuals were not given a voice, were not listened to. For centuries, these people imagined that it will all descend upon them, because the principle of that is very much in the Quran. Inzal, Tanzil, it comes down. But what about the arc of also ascent? What about from down upward? You see, here in the West, especially in Scandinavia, for at least the last 200-300 years, it became more and more from down upward. It was not the divine right of kings. So the king said so. So what, he's an imbecile. He said so. But people dare not say that because they've taken on the illusion as whoever is the leader has also the prophetic sanction. It comes with the whatever. That is why there is the suffering. That's why it's war machination. And it is not being caused by IS or anybody else. These are the effects. It's the other way around. They're not the cause. Because you are thinking rationally and laterally, so you will never get to know. Why are these people who were rescued from the miserable situation, they come here and they establish their own warfare here? It is that we are out of balance. Humanity is out of balance, and humanity and divinity is not also reinforcing each other. If you want to maintain a reasonable balance as a human being, you must be accountable to other human beings. You can't be above anything. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا, says, say, confess, share that I'm a man like you, I'm a human being like you. The only difference, يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. That's all. That means I'm accessing constantly the highest in me. I am not just talking rationally or from my mind. I'm also in constant, perpetual resonance with the nur of Allah in my heart. So.
Thamud belied the truth in their excessive transgression when the most wretched of them broke out with mischief.
Now look at the magnificent spiritual rationality, supra-rationality, beyond rationality of the Quran. Here it starts by the sun and the moon, and then the human being. And not unless you aim to purify your animal in you, put them in the zoos, not until you groom your lower self. Feed it. Yes, it loves to do this. Let's allow it a bit, and then put it back in the zoo. Otherwise, you will be devoured. Your ego will take over, and you will be self-destructive. Suddenly, it switches on from the personal to the social, to the societal, to the communal. Suddenly it goes to the history of tribes that were known in Arabia. Don't forget, this main emphasis is for the people to which it first came to. And they were part of those, few thousand of years of people roaming around more or less the same geographical area, with some water, some river, some forests, and then deserts. Hunting, gathering, and a bit of minor settlements. And with their cattle, and dependent a lot on the cows and the sheep and the thing. And moving from one area where weather has been better for foraging and so on to another area there was a famine at the time of the Prophet Ibrahim. So he had to wander also and move from southern, what is now Iraq, Ur, up to north, where is Turkey, and then down to what is now Egypt. And stopped at Aleppo. The root of it is Halab. Halab is milk. So, because they were so, so poor and in famine. So he stopped much longer there, so that they can take milk from his. And then look what came later, and then every few hundred years there is a destruction again on it. We are like that. We are destructive, constructive beings. But if you look at it from short-term history, you find this beastie is most unreliable. But look at it at 5,000 years, this beastie is being groomed by events, by times. How many battles were there within the remnants of the Vikings of 1,000 years ago? How many more battles between whatever Norway and Sweden and Denmark? Eventually they said, no, we want the same thing. And so let us agree, the river is our border, etc., etc. There's been a tremendous progress on humanity. Also, there has been an accompaniment of that progress in accessibility of divinity. It's not anymore a preserve of few people. 200 years ago, very few people only could have afforded few books. Most of the unveiling revelations were also written and so on. And earlier on also, because there were very few people who could spend enough time and energy on that, so there arose a class of priestly people. And they began to also, like natural for the human being wanting to play God, so they began to preserve it to themselves. But there's an advantage that if it is a class of people who spend more time and effort to understand and dive into the scriptures, there will be many, many layers of unveiling. As you know, the Quran, there are so many different levels in it. There is one basic linguistic, communicative, and you need to know the grammar, you need to know all of the other aspects of the Arabic language, which the Arabs at the time of the Prophet did not know. They just lived it. It was an oral, and they just lived it. So the punctuations, the grammar, all of this came much, much later, because it became more and more available. Earlier on, it was a preserve of those who had an amazing photographic memory or hearing. They could hear the whole surah and they could recite it. And so, and time went on, we began to write, record. Kufic scripture is very difficult to read. So we need all kinds of this and that. And so consciousness has been rising. Spiritual consciousness has been rising. It's more and more accessible. Same thing as there has been biological, physiological, chemical evolution, there's also spiritual evolution. We've come a long, long, long way. Don't ever think that, there is any regression or downward thing unless it is in a short duration. Within every 100, 200 years, there are cycles within cycles within cycles. But generally, there is a rise in consciousness. And if scientists tell you there is a lot of randomness in existence, certainly. It appears to us as random. But it's directional randomness. It's all the time moving higher and higher and higher in its getting beyond the limitations of our minds. Mind is an important tool to deal with the outer world. So that's why we say there is an inner and there is an outer. So as you are in balance regarding the movement with the wind, the air, the enemies, whatever is going on, so that you are at the point of vastness, so that you are balancing the infinitude in you, which is your soul, and the finitude in you, which is its echo, its shadow, the so-called you, the biographical you, the biological you, which has a birth and a death. If you truly live this, you have no fear of death. The biggest issue in life for most people is to know that death is the most wonderful natural gift. Genuinely. Not simply because, yes, I am dying and I'm afraid of dying, so I have to reconcile, and therefore, yes, it's a natural gift. No. You know it. If it comes tomorrow, you are cheerful about it. If it comes next year, you are cheerful about it. It doesn't matter anymore. Because you know that which is within you lives forever. And the so-called you as an individual is echoed by society. And then the relevancy to the Arabs at the time was that all of these people of Ad and Thamud, they were known. Because they were oralist people, hunted, moving, trading, and they were sparse people, not many. You know, how many houses were there in Medina 2-3 years before the departure of the Prophet? Probably 10,000-15,000, no more. They were small populations. At that time, there was a danger of extinction. Now we are bringing extinction upon ourselves by excesses. But so suddenly it says, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا. So each one of us is inspired as to what is degenerative, what will make me lose all, through being only selfish, through only being this biographical entity, which is only pursuing a doomed, if you like, way of miserable existence, or taqwa. Watch out. Who are you? Why are you here? What's your duty? What's your responsibility? How can you save yourself from yourself? If you do this, then you find you and the society or community is exactly the same. They are again parallel. كذبت ثمود بطغواها. Or we are also the same. We deny because we follow. This is another law of nature. People follow the outward, if you like, successful beings. So we all want to have, as several thousand of years ago, the leaders of the society, and then later on when it became more organized, and the Senate, if in the case of the Romans, we want to have what the Senate has, because he looks quite successful. He has a lot of people who can do things for him. He has a lovely place in the country also, etc., etc., etc. Unless he's stabbed or killed, he's a very enviable person, etc. So suddenly it moves from sun, moon, you, and the you are كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها. We all want to follow or be like whom outwardly we consider they are people of desirable attributes. What are they? Wealth, power, knowledge, influence, status. We love that. All of these qualities lie within your own heart, within your own soul. They are God's attributes. All of the divine attributes. We love them, we want them. So, and we want to become like that. So if you want anybody to contribute to something, everybody has a cause. Even if it is a cause not to have a cause, it's also a cause. So watch out, don't say I am. So if you want to have somebody to contribute to your cause, and usually it's so-called a charitable organization, you see. Even the ultimate thugs in different towns and cities, they want to collect contribution for their thuggery, and so they come to you and say, here is a T-shirt, we expect you to donate to us on a monthly basis 20,000 krona. Otherwise, your shop will vanish or something. So we love that. We love to have that power. We love to appear as, charitable. So, but if you want to appear to be as charitable, catch people in a good mood. And you can also enhance that mood. We know you are a very well-known person as very charitable, very generous person. We have heard that you never turned anybody down. He said, really? Yes. So build them up. And then tell them, but we accept only a minimum of 10,000 krona donation. And then by then you have hooked the person, you see. So Thamud, like most other people, most other communities, societies, they have preferences as to who are their leaders. And their leaders are obviously the ones who have got more visible, worldly, demonstrative power and wealth. That's what it is. We are clumsy, we are flimsy, we follow appearance. Nothing wrong with that. Your senses go for appearance. You hear. Somebody says, I love you. Oh, this is nice. But he's come with 6 guns behind him. So he can't. But then your eye says something else, and then you hear, and somebody says, no, watch out, this is not, no, this is a ruse, we're all deceptive. Why? The source within us knows perfect deception. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرٌ. And. It comes from the unseen. All the animals in you have deception. You are living, you are a deception yourself. You think you are this entity. Yes, my mother, yes, she was so kind. And of course, everybody likes to build up his parents or his ancestors to make them super, super, super. You know. And then suddenly you find, no, actually your great-great-grandfather was one of the biggest rascals. So you keep quiet now. From there on, you won't all the time say, you don't know what is my ancestral whatever it is. Look at the prophetic, his cousins, his uncle, everybody. What are you talking about? Wherever there is light, there is darkness. Wherever there is goodness, there is also. So stop this fantasizing, romanticizing nonsense. There's nothing wrong with romance. But it's wonderful if it takes you completely out of your mind to the unconditionality of the reality in you. So we are followers of our visible, wealthy, powerful, dominant, ambitious leaders. You need to distinguish, and the Quran is full of that. There are 2 zones. مرج البحرين يلتقيان. The 2 oceans meet in you. بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان. One ocean is the ocean of rationality, reason, balance in the world. لا تخسروا الميزان. Don't damage it. Don't damage the earth after these millions of years of it become conducive for this ultimate high level of consciousness that we human beings have. We're not the only ones or unique, but let's concentrate on what we have. So you need to make sure this domain is related to appropriately, so that you are resonating constantly with the cosmic domain, from which this domain is only one minor manifestation. It is a microcosm out of multi, if you like, universes. It's a multiverse. It's not the only one. That's why many people who have the ability to listen to that which is not through the sensory ear, they say, look here, I'm hearing the drum of wars, and so on and so forth. There are even now human beings who can smell water from many, many kilometers away, or can almost know that there are some rumbling. As you know, the elephants have in it the most sensitive part in them actually is under their foot, and they want to hear something far, they lift it, and probably up to 50, 70, 80 kilometers, they can receive some signals that they interpret in their senses. And since we think we have evolved much higher, so that potential is within us also. But you don't have to go through the elephant part of you. No, just stop anything to do with you, and you will be given what you need to know. Stay longer or shorter, or say something or don't say it. This is Bismillah. If any one of you is a believer or have faith or trust in the way of Muhammad, then you start by Bismillah, because you have no power of your own. Take permission from whom you have this life. كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها.
So Allah's Messenger said to them, it is Allah's she-camel, let her drink. But they called him a liar and slaughtered her. So their Lord crushed them for their wrong action and destroyed them all, and he does not fear the consequence.
Life is a miracle. Everything that it really exists on this tiny earth and in the solar system and in the whole universe is miracle upon miracle upon miracle. Within it, there are millions of different magics wrapped up within. Some of them parallel, some of them are consecutive. Now, so people always want miracles. So they made a condition historically that no, we don't trust you. Who are you? You're telling us not to follow the way of our parents. Why do we love the way of our parents? Why do we love tradition? It's continuity. The three things we're all the time having inadvertently to accept, one of them is to connect. Who is it? What is it? Smell, what touch. Connect, connect, connect. In the world of business, he's a man of a lot of connections. Connection is not just physical to know A, B, or C. It's also in knowledges, in skills. When you're connecting, you know exactly how many other people or contractors you get, and you can build a whole town or a city. Connect. And then the other important drive is whatever you like, you want it to be continuous. Whatever you don't, it's repulsive, you don't want it near you. And then, of course, you want to be alive. These are the three C's: consciousness, continuation, and connection. So people needed a shock. So you are exactly like us. We can't follow. No, you want us to leave our ways of the past. You like the ways of the past because it connects you to the beginning of time in an illusion, as a way of thinking past, present, and future. We are caught in time. And time cannot exist unless it's within space. And so you are making your own biographical painting or sketches in a frame of space, and you are doing it in time. And you know, I've done this. And you know, look, here I went there. And I wrote this book. And I said this. You are actually expressing your own evolution along your biographical, if you like, movements. Some of it were obviously intended. Much of it was not. You are, and I am, and he is, and she is now the outcome of subtle or obvious, thought of, or subconscious or unconscious intentions or desires or hopes or attachments, and the outcome. So there's a mix. So watch out what you put in your heart that you want or you like or you want. So watch out. Because it may come to you, but the circumstances would have changed so much that you resent it. Can you imagine if your desire was to have one major house that you had, a beautiful big house in Hiroshima, that you say, I want this house to be preserved. And the entire place has been leveled to the ground, and you have just this villa is yours. And it's all intact. I mean, what is your reaction? Are you really pleased with yourself? Are you going to have a party that night, the next day after Hiroshima? Or will you want to run away, or what? So watch out. What is it? What do you want? Any reasonably sensible or rational person say, no, I really want not to want. It's an aspiration. It's some hope. You can't, you're hanging on air. So long as you are within your body, so long as there is humanity, there must be with it a certain measure of humility. Same as anybody else. Otherwise it goes in your head and you unknowingly die. A way that is not agreeable. Because in truth, death is only a transfer from the zone of duality of this world to higher consciousness, where all opposites, all dualities, all pluralities are at one. Scientists call it singularity. So the individual is not separate from who they are with. It's very important for anybody who follows the Quranic description and prescription, because they are often together. Who are your friends? Who are the people you're with? As the great Sufi teacher said, you know, even if you go next to the shop of the perfume dispenser, even if you don't buy anything, if you don't do anything, at least you've had a whiff of perfume. You know, if you go to the blacksmith, you know, you probably have few sparks falling on your dress and you'll have holes in it. So watch out, who are you with? What map are you looking at? What sketch of reality are you applying as a transparency? Because we want to read things as they are. اقرأ, read it. إذن بعث وقال لهم سورة ناقة الله فكذبوه. So we are all denial. فعقروها. So there was this miracle. No. Because we are all greedy, so they wouldn't even give it its portion of drink. فدمدم عليهم ربهم. So that higher reality, lower reality, reality itself, Allah does not punish anybody. It's the design. It is you who punish yourself, individually or collectively. We, each one of us, is in this earth sowing the seeds of the perfect garden here and now, not just hereafter, or the big hell, by our quarrelsomeness, by our disagreements, by our accusation of others, by our guilt, and. So everyone is a war machine. But here we have a peace conference. Everybody's coming with their own war machine. The issue of the East is historical, and it's to do with leadership. It is not just misinterpretation of religion and are Muslims peaceful people or are they warriors? No human being ever is extreme one and not the other. But it's better if you are at war with your lower self, with the animal self, rather than with the poor wife or the child or somebody. Be revolutionary against the lower self, and patient and evolutionary with others. Then you have humanity and divinity in balance. If this is not done, then in the name of God, in the name of religion, in the name of Quran, you can cause havoc to yourself and to others. So this was Surah Al-Shams. It gives us a great cosmological, if you like, referencing, and then to the self. If you don't groom yourself, you are doomed, and also you are with people, you will be swamped by them. وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةً لَنْ تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً. Watch out that a treachery that's taking place somewhere far, don't ever imagine it will not come to you. There's one humanity. There's one creative principle, essence, light, divine. That's all. No escape. We are all the same in principle. And every minute is different from the next minute. So the Quran gives us descriptions and prescriptions at the same time. And the deeper you go in it, reflect upon it, the greater insights you will have. If sight doesn't lead to insight, you are certainly heading towards a great disappointment and disaster, because the time will come your sight will become weaker, and if your insight is not stronger, then you say, why am I getting worse as I get older? My sight is becoming less, my taste is becoming less. Fine, eat less. My sleep becoming less. Fine, what's wrong with that? It's, everybody is concerned about, really there is more suffering. Good. Suffering is part of nature. So as you avoid it. We want to avoid suffering. Leave your body fully and then come back and tell me about no suffering or suffering. This is a kindergarten. We are in a nursery here. To know you are animal, divine, human, spiritual, on earth, not of earth. So you need to balance it until such time there is no struggle anymore in the balance. The reference itself in you enables you. This goes back again to Bismillah. Where did you get your life from? How did it come to you? Why don't you ask permission from the author whose light gives you life? But you have been a usurper, you have stolen it, so you expect others to have loyalty. Do you have loyalty to the life giver in you? Do you have loyalty to the source of life in you? Are you truly, in every way, completely and utterly at one with the one in you? If you are, then you don't need any of this. You say there is only one, and I'm completely by the one, by mercy of the one, by grace of the one. Thank you very much, goodbye. You people need to spend more time or less time or whatever. Fine. Save yourself from yourself by grace of your soul. That's all. That's the message that came for thousands of messengers and prophets. The only difference is that it culminated with, after thousands of the Abrahamic being, with this being who listened to it all. It's nothing of his own. It was the same. And he put it to these people who have not had it clearly in their language also. And that's all. That's why we have Shaykh Sa'di's, wonderful gift of being here, to show you that, the language also has within it, in all of these Abrahamic, if you like, historical 3, 4, whatever thousands of years, they're more or less the same reflectiveness. Take 30 or 40 of the words that are, in a way, along the same stream in the Judaic background, in the Aramaic, and the Islamic, and the Arabic. Just take nefesh. Just take few of these things, you'll be amazed that there is something that is rational, mental, linguistic, we learn it, but it is only a sign. It vibrates in a manner that will take you to a source that is cosmic. If you do not have that calibration all the time, you will be, as the next surah tells us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal asri. Certainly.
إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Translate.
By the time, most certainly man is in a state of loss.
Again, the word asr is the most wonderful tree from which all kinds of meanings, all kinds of leaves emanate. It also means an era. Usur in Arabic means ages. Duhur, hundreds of years, and so on. At all times. Also, Asr. The Quran emphasizes the middle prayer, Salat al-Wusta. This also relates to the Asr, the afternoon, midday also. So it has many, many, many flashes, that word. At all times, human beings is at a loss. How many hours every day we spend often not being very conscious as to what you're doing. You're eating. Are you aware now you have been on your 9th spoon? Have you been? As you are eating, and that's why you cough and you splurt. We're not aware what we are doing. That's why I look at the time we're living in. A car is not a car unless there is also 4 or 5 or more places that you can place your cup of coffee. Or now, soon it will come also, some arm will lift the sandwich and smack you with it. Because you don't have, whilst you are driving, you have to appease your wife. You take to her, never mind this, I will get you your, I forgot your birthday yesterday, but today I'm going to buy you that miserable earring that you wanted, or whatever. And then you have to appease, you have to prepare yourself for the meeting, because you haven't really got your sales quota, but you need now to give reasons. And then you suddenly look and the petrol is going down. You are absence in absence upon absence. So when will you wake up? When you are aware what you're doing. That's why we are so inefficient. Not only inefficient, that 80% of our actions bring us to situations that we need to have the remaining 20% to try and make up for the misery we've caused during this 80%. What is there left then? And this is the bounty of nature that covers it up and brings about goodness. Irrespective of how forgetful we are, how absent-minded. As for the heart, we don't know where it is. So there are 11 sicknesses of the heart described in the Quran. Ranges from being under heavy cover and until such, even is like a stone, hard. It says, no, a stone is not. It can also, water can, if you If you know where to drill, water will gush, and so on. At all times, innal insana, certainly insan. Insan is the culmination of haywan. But it has within him, within her, the nur of Rahman. But that is part of duality. So there cannot be the nur of Rahman unless there is the dark shadow of it, of shaitan. So watch out. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. What a magnificent. Rahman is also to do with connectedness. Rahim is womb, ongoingness. كل يعمل على وزينا لهم أعمال. Whatever exists wants to continue. Unavoidable. So this is Rahmaniyya. And it is what brings about the viruses. Each one of us, probably between 2 to 4 kilos of bacteria and viruses. That's what we are walking, you see. Here comes 3.5 kilos of viruses. Excuse me, I'm introducing myself. This is the name of a hotel of Eastern viruses. Oh no, this is Northern viruses or bacteria. Those creatures consider you as a walking hotel. But you consider yourself as a very important person. You don't know. We are spiritual people. You know, we are different than the others. You know, we are very special. You know, special. That means everybody has to come and cow to you because you've now considered yourself spiritual. And also, organized religion, of course, encourages that. So you get different sizes of hats and caps. And at the peak of the Ottoman Empire, which also ended up at the time that it was also have very, very, very weak situation to become a joke 200 of years ago. So there were more than 18 different sizes of the turbans. So you knew who is the Shaykh al-Islam, who is the greatest of all. And the poor fellow also, after washing and mucking and so on, he had to come up and dress up and, you know, and have 2-3 people helping him to dress. And of course, if you were more in the Greek Orthodox Church, you may need 5 people to dress you, and so on. And so as you walk in, everybody says, "Ma, God." Until they speak to the wife or to the daughter and say, "No, what is this rascal? He doesn't even." He blames us all the time. He never blames us because he is the. Really, unless you laugh at the nafs, you will never get a glimpse of the magnificent smile of your soul, of your ruh. So this is the job to do. So there is a purpose in life. Purpose not just necessarily to be charitable, be good. These are necessary conditions, not enough. That's why you hear so many people say, I spent so many years in that orphanage. I spent 20 years of my life trying to, and really nobody followed me. Nobody considered, nobody put my picture in their living room. Good, I like to be with those people. Really, they don't take it personal. You know, they learned from you and they went on ahead of you. I said, no, they. Well, asri at all times. Insaniya, one of the root meaning of the word, is nasiya, to forget. We're forgetful. Thank God we're forgetful. Because what if I remember, you know, on 6th of August 1978, I went to that house and they really said, no, we don't want you. Muslims and dogs leave. So I had to leave. I've been to places like that actually. You must laugh, say, look, they are declaring something very good. I'm not welcome there. Thank you very much for telling me. You're wonderful. I appreciate your honesty and generosity. Thank you very much. Goodbye. No. Imam Khomeini was asking when they arrived in France, because he only had 3 months visa. He said, where do you go? He said, I don't know. Maybe you put me in a little boat for I float because there are no borders there. I don't know where I'll go. Doesn't matter. Allah will take you. You don't know. But that is not trust. That is knowledge. That there is only Allah. At first, no, I'll do my best. I'll investigate. I can buy a visa. I can buy a passport. Especially where these miserable millions of people have no passport. We all start collecting. You know, any passport, where can I buy a passport? And of course, The rest of the world knows that these passports are dicey. You need to have 6 months waiting for a visa because, there have been 9 times these passports have been, reprinted in some underground cellar somewhere. So at all times, uns, seeking solace, seeking comfort and forgetfulness, insan, lefi,
khusr, at a loss.
Loss. Rumi was right. Everybody is a sleepwalker and on a sliding roof, and yet they are dancing to the tune of the last, tango on the Titanic. That's what it is. Let's have one last party. You are sinking. You are stinking. But no, let's have a nice perfume. Can you spray more in the air? Who are you hiding? Be honest. Be real. Weep. Really weep, weep, weep until you've emptied out. فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. When you have emptied out, now stand up. وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَرْغَ. It's a displacement. Your muck has to be displaced. Open a clear tap of awareness, constant vigilance, constant reflectiveness, constant beyond, transcending the senses, and then you saw there is only your Rabb. Rabb al-Arbab. Everything has a Rabb, everything has a Lord, everything has a mastery.
Except those who trust and do right actions and enjoin each other to the truth and enjoin each other to patience.
Now, this is the prescription. Every human being is in a mess. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. No matter how successful you are, the seasons will change and you will have to declare a certain measure of failure. And then the ultimate failure, if you are completely worldly, outwardly, sensory oriented, you will die. That's the ultimate loss. Are you ready for that? If you're ready for that, then you really are celebrating life itself. Because life continues. It is only your illusion that it is your life. And therefore, if you are cornered, you don't mind the whole earth to be at war. Because like many of these hundreds of despots, they say, I did my best to these people, like fascists, and I sacrificed. But they betrayed me. If you take the top 30, 40, 50 so-called big men of influence in the world history, going from Greek times, Alexander the Great, and come now down to Mussolini, to Saddam, you find each one of them say, I've been betrayed. At the end, they say, I was betrayed. I've been betrayed. Because you have betrayed the real you. You have betrayed your soul. Your soul is divine. Your soul is timeless. Your soul is not yours. You belong to your soul. Have you got that right? Or saying, I have within me a light of the divine. Or it is the light of the divine that has given me the experience of life. It's a big difference. At first, as a child, you say, no, I am this body, I am this son of so-and-so, but also I'm alive, and therefore I have to respect others who are alive. This is a nice, reasonable starting point. But if you don't soon come to a point that there is no you except for that spark of perpetual, eternal life, that within it lies all the great qualities. Knowledge itself, Al-Alim. Power itself, Al-Qadir, Al-Qawi, and all the hundreds of attributes. Once you know that lies within you, you're not too concerned to be also like Shaykh Google, having all the information on you. You know what you need to know. It will be given to you at the time that there is a real need for it. Not you decide, I need more. Because what the nafs wants is what the soul has, which is boundless. How many houses, how many places are you going to stack the treasures or the wonderful gifts that you have? Where are you going to put it? So leave it where it is. And trust you will get what is appropriate for you. What does that mean? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا. These are the prescription. You trust in that what you really need, not the so-called you. The amalgam, the connection, the mixture of the animal you and the divine you. For your evolution, for your earthly growth, to realizing that you are on earth, not from earth. You are an alien. You have emerged from the unseen. Your soul returns back to the unseen. That is aminu, amn. You are at peace. But in the East, for hundreds of years, the misrulership gave them the arrogance of calling their secret police amn. Can you imagine? That is the issue. The issue is a distorted way of rulers connecting with the rules. Because these people learned, they thought it will come from above. It's true. But what about you and I caring for the lower? You have to care for this. Then the two are inseparable, above and below. They have not listened to the people. Whereas in the northern countries, where here and so on, you had enough warfare. Most of warfares have been instigated either directly by the wealthier or more so-called evolved people in the north, or through their weaponry. Did Uganda have the greatest manufacturing of arms? 35, 40 years ago, I was stranded in Dar es Salaam's port. Nobody in his right mind would go to Dar es Salaam. There were socialists. It was only Sweden that was supporting it, because they were supposed to be socialists. And of course, Sweden wants to have a baby in Africa. So this is socialism. So, huge port. It used to take the best part of 20 minutes to get out from the mooring, to get out of the port. They were arms that were ordered by Uganda, mostly from the industrial nations. But by that time, Idi Amin was on his way out. So nobody would pay for it, and so it was stranded on the port. This is who we are. Amn has come to mean, in most of the Eastern countries, means secret police who's come there to strangle you. And instead of it being trusting, relying upon. Same word is also used for insurance. Insurance company, Sharikat Ta'min, in all of the Arab world, or equivalent word. So we have twisted the whole thing upside down. It had become frightened by death, so I pay in order to have insurance, or frightened by secret service. That's Quwwat al-Amn. For hundreds of years, people lived within a complex, distorted way. So this is why you people in the northern parts are suffering from the terrorism that is. It's not cause and effect in the same way, that in a simplistic way that you think. It's been going on for hundreds of years. It's not your fault, it's not their fault, it's nobody. It's just one of those attritions. If you don't live fully the Quran, then you end up raising hundreds of different excuses of warfare, lifting the Quran on your head. Watch out. Amanu. You trust in that. It is Allah's plot. So if you think that this all kinds of atrocities that are going on, that we as human beings don't like, quite rightly, we don't like abusiveness, we cannot accept terrorism, but then you stop. Why is there terrorism so much here but not there? Because the people's inner terrorism, their inner warfare, is beginning now to ooze out. And they export it because it comes with the fellow. Whilst they're drowning also in the Mediterranean water, it is like that. Condemn terrorism, condemn abusiveness, condemn injustice, but then stop. Surah Al-Mulk. Can you read it for me? So you must acknowledge that all of this universe is under governance. Perfect governance. بيده الملك. وهو الذي خلق. Look at the beautiful order. First, nothingness. Because there is nothing beside him. الذي خلق الموت. First, death came about. And from the zone of the infinitude, beginnings and end are not separate. So as we are beginning to address ourselves to that highest, first is nothingness, your nothingness, my nothingness. And that light's prevalence, cosmic perpetuity of everythingness. ليبلوكم
أيكم أحسن عملا.
Then go on. Now it says there is no fault. What? No fault with all the mess, all the lies, all the terrorism? It says no fault. Look back. Do you find any fault? So first you look with sight and with your reason. No, it's faulty. I have to try and put it right. I have to be charitable. I have to be firm. If they are unjust, we put them onto human trial and consensus opinion. No, this is abusive, so we lock the person or close it or whatever. It's not a good business. Everybody is getting drugged. Close it down. But then it says stop and look. Why has it come to me? Why has it come to these people, us, whatever? So you find no fault. Allah says, I don't wrong anyone. You have wronged yourself by presuming, assuming, and having some sort of a fantasy that you are special beings. Maybe special being in crookedness. Maybe special being in stupidity, in ignorance, and so on and so on. Otherwise, you are carrying on your version of what is going to bring about lasting remedy. There are always these two zones. First, it's not good, we have to do something. Close it, mend the roof, or warn the people. It's not correct. If they don't have the proper fire precaution, they'll burn the house. And if the house burns, maybe the neighbor will. Secondly, why are they doing that? Because they're ignorant. They just don't know that this is all wood and you can't make a fire in the middle of the thing. It's not a hut in the desert where the sand will take the heat, and so on and so on and so on. Two. One sight, another insight. One rationality and head, another heart and soul.
Do you want me to read Surah Al-A'la?
يؤمنون الذين يؤمنون
الذين يتواصوا بالحق ويتواصوا بالصبر.
إلا الذين
آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات.
First you trust. You will do your utmost. And that you're accountable to others. Please see if I'm doing correct. What am I burning? So you need to have the humanity. And then your security is in the infinite unknown. Then you trust fully. This is not fully trustable. Every one of you is reliable up to a point. After 4, 5, 6, 7 days, you go to sleep. So you're not reliable. Or whatever, or you die. I want that which never does. So I trust in that which is within me, never dies. يؤمنون إلا الذين آمنوا. The brilliant ayahs about Iman. Look them all up and see. They'll give you an incredible bouquet of incredible garden of Eden. يؤمنوا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. Then you are a human being. You damn well have to do something. Say something good. Smile, sing, plant something, give something, take something. You can't not interact. Humanity cannot survive on individuals alone. There has to be connectedness. A baby cannot survive unless it's got some. الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات. The next condition, do your utmost, do something good. وعملوا الصالحات. Do something salih to stop this noise, for example. وتواصوا بالحق. We must laugh, really. Without that, وتواصوا بالحق is truth, eternal. Remind each other that, look, Allah knows. Do you and I know enough? If not, let's be quiet. There are far, far, far more things that we don't know, the ultimate outcome. So be cautious, don't do it. If you know something is clear, certain something has reached this temperature, is pressure, stop it, do it, finish it, it's done. So goodness reaches a point that you know it is good. Do it. Equally the reverse. Evil, incorrect, whatever, vice, don't do it. And in between, be cautious. Because they can move. A good meal could be a most welcome thing to have. But keep on eating the good meal for 10 hours non-stop, you are a very dangerous creature. You're going to blow up or cause whatever, run away. So you need to constantly refer your judgment as human being to a higher judgment, where there is no more judgment. Haqq. That's the truth. So if somebody is collecting, a point comes that nothing is enough. One of the greater collectors of works of arts and antiquities in the States, his most wonderful statement was that if you give me the entire wealth in the world and 1,000 times more, it's not enough for me to continue to complete my collection. This is who we are, because the nur of Allah resides in the heart, and Allahu Akbar. So it's greater than measure. So what will be enough for you? Nothing will be enough. So corner yourself and laugh at yourself. Of course nothing will be enough. But thank you for this meal, it's enough. Thank you for the bed, enough few hours of disappearing. It's all practice of death. Your ruh is at ease now. Not all the time energizing your senses. This is up and this is down. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. What is sabr? What is sabr? What is sabr? What is?
Cactus.
Huh?
Cactus.
Brilliant. It's the fruit of the cactus. It's beautiful and it's full of thorns also. Prickly pear. Yes. You have here, the equivalent is at rose hip, isn't it? So, sabr outwardly is bitter. Sabr is the cactus. But don't be scared of it. Be patient. Say, all right, you can't do it but I'll wait 10 years. But it's 20 years between friends. Yesterday, 17 years. Wasn't it wonderful? What is 17 years, 20 years between friends? 1,000,000 years. What? This whole earth is for whatever billion years. Not important. Be patient. Switch off your time measurement, your inner clock. You can't do it now, don't do it. And you suddenly never know. Things changes, switch it on. I remember seeing this wonderful man in Bukhara. A man in his 90s, full of energy. I have photographs with him. So I saw him with about 50, 60 youngsters reciting the Quran. Sitting in one of the old madrasas with very high, this style of Samarkand and Bukhara, beautiful Central Asian. So he laughed and he spoke perfect Persian also. He told me, he said, I've just dusted myself after the end of Soviet Union. 70 odd years passed and I'm exactly the same. I am back again, I'm going to teach. And here are my children. Wasn't that beautiful? So what is 70 years? They've come, they have gone, and look, I'm here, the Quran is there, and we are going to discover who we are. Honestly. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And share it with others. Be patient and you'll realize foreverness is there. Otherwise you are acting like a 2-year-old child. Now. Why the child is impatient? Because the nafs, the ego, has not been developed enough to act as a filter between its soul and the outer world. It's wonderful. It doesn't know that the season has changed. It doesn't know, etc. Or the parents have gone, or the parents have separated, as all parents nowadays do. They are modern parents. How can they be together? I mean, they were all together, they bumped into each other and somebody came out, but soon after that, not really, I didn't. He was not the same as I thought, In the photograph, it looked nice. But in reality, you don't know. He snores. How can I sleep the night? And they have this unfortunate habit of having double beds. So I mean, it's a recipe for disaster, because there is no respect anymore. So anyway, so tawasaw bil-haq, the ultimate, perfection, endless, timeless, beyond mind, and timelessness, sabr. So be impatient against your lower self. No patience. Don't give it time. One of the biggest puzzles in life is this self-reformation, tazkiyah, purifying yourself. The self is murky, it's shadows, it can't be purified. But it can be contained. Humanity has to be contained, limited, and given tasks to do. Serve, help, teach, move, travel, be quiet, whatever. So the biggest difficulty is how you're beginning now to reform yourself. Every one of us is like a garden here. There are a lot of weeds, there are a lot of also plants that are usable, edible, according to us, whatever. Poor weed when it has doing its purpose, but we classified it now as a weed. Now we are beginning to discover how wonderful some of these weeds are. So we are all munching on weeds. And that becomes a very high quality of superfood. Anyway, so the more there is weeds in it, the more it is very high. You pay even more for it, and there is less of it also on your plate. So the thing to watch for is this process of displacement of the ego and the animal and the stupid in you and the past in you. Displace it with the soul in you, with the ruh in you. It's a process of displacement and purification. It's called takhliyah, empty out. The biggest dangers I've come across in my life, and a lot of such experiences, people start on that process and then they want a sweetener. They want confirmation that really is wonderful, there is light. So they start hoping for, desiring for a taste of oblivion, of light, of the divine light. So they start these so-called circles of dhikr and singing and all of the other things that goes with it, you see. The biggest danger is you're like a field, a wild field. The emptying or the getting rid of the weeds or purification is a necessary process. But because you are impatient, you want to be given a carrot. What's at the end of it? At the end of it is joy upon joy. Now, once you start tasting joy, it is like now pouring wonderful, high quality fertilizers and compost on the weed field. The weeds will come back worse. I have found amongst the worst people are the ignorant Sufis. Give me any time a straightforward ignorant person. It's easier. But no, we belong to this tariqah, and not only I, from my ancestors, and my grandfather was the head of this, and we have this business of measures, ranks, different levels is a dunya issue. is a worldly issue. It is reason. It is sensory. I don't deny it. But you can't transpose that model into the infinite zone. You can't do that. Thank God for the end of all of those fancy, comparing whose tariqah is greater, whose shaykh is... What are you talking about? Every one of us, no matter how great the Prophet was, he also is a human being. And if ever they deny that, then you're safe to run away. Watch out. Don't give as Hafiz and all of the other great. They warn, don't give sweetness to someone whose stomach is sick. Go for that first. But you can't say exclusively, I'm only going to put my body right, and then I look at my head, and then I look at my heart. No, they go together. But there is a hierarchy. If I have pain in my feet, in my toes, and this and that, my mind cannot be clear. If my mind is not clear, if my actions have not been clear, if I have not lived joyfully with myself, my heart cannot be clear. If my heart is not clear, then the light of my soul cannot shine. There is a hierarchy. Watch out for these dangers. Suddenly we go into a bit of watch out. You may be building a big house on a very thin foundation. Therefore, much drug abuse, much of these things can only cause greater, if you like, suffering. Unless you have such a strong head, such a strong reasoning, experiencing, practicing in your own life, that you only think that's all what it is. Only this conscious, awakened life. Then of course you can challenge such a meek reasoning. Where are you during sleep? Why is sleep such an important factor in your well-beingness? What happens during sleep? You are not present. There is no reason there. You are not rational. So we do love to touch the zone of beyond rationality. And judicious use of some drugs that take you out of your mind gives you that shock of an exposure that no, there is another zone of consciousness beyond what I have been considering as to be the exclusive. That is the only useful of that thing. A bit of something that's to shock you that this is not it. What's considered normal is a tiny bit of levels of consciousness. All of them stemming from higher consciousness. So, the third surah is also a lot of prescriptions. And it begins by the most wonderful term in, I think it's also in the Aramaic and other, relating to sabaha. Certainly it is the Zen way of flow. Sabbih. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la. What a prescription.
الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى.
The word sabaha is one of several hundred words which are exceptionally potent. Tasbih is from it. Subhan. So all of it is from the same root. And the key linguistic sound is to swim, to float, to flow along. Sabbah also, what translates as the meaning is glorify. Glorify what? That infinitude. So sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la, the highest. Everything has a mastery. Everything has a key. And the Greek plethora of gods, each had a domain. In the Quranic culture and tradition and knowledge, here we have got a lot of attributes. They are the equivalent of that. Al-Shafi is not the same as Al-Mughni, the source of healing, or a system being in harmony, which is healing, is not the same as that which gives you knowledge in order to be enriched or wealth and so on. So there are different domains, different fields of energy. And if you want to get out of the lower self, the animal self, then you enter into these different fields of energy, and you will be taken that color. Take generosity. Are you mean or are you generous? All this obsession with self-esteem. So I don't have enough self-esteem. Well, how can you have self-esteem when you know you will die after 4 or 5 days without going to the bathroom? What sort of self-esteem is it? How? So it means you cannot have any real respect for the lower self, for the animal self. But don't deny it. You need to contain it. You need to keep it, feed it, whatever. Maintain a boundary. So this whole issue of glorifying has to encompass the entire spectrum. You as a human being, part of you is despicable. It's ridiculous. Part of you is sublime. So sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la, the highest zone of consciousness. The highest zone of consciousness is cosmic consciousness, divine consciousness, God consciousness. الذي خلق فسوى. Everything has got its appropriate place and in existence. Perfect upon perfect. وَالَّذِي قَدَّرَ فَهَدَى. Everything according to measure. And everything knows what next is guidance. So if you trust that you've come from the unseen, guided by the unseen, so that to connect the seen and the unseen and enjoy the thrill of how you did very little in the visible, in the mental, and much more came to you through the unseen and the higher aspects, which you call spiritual. وَالَّذِي أَخْرَجَ الْمَرْعَى. Then also suddenly on the earth how things come up and yield their ultimate earthly, if you like, statement and announcement, and dies down again. سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا. And this incredible promise. You will come to read that which is not forgettable. سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا. You will be made to read until you never forget. You never forget that you are yearning for that origin which is beyond description. Every one of us is yearning to be certain that Allah is in charge. Because you can't trust anything other than that. You have different levels of trust. You can say this person is very trustworthy. Fine. But let them be in a coma. Are they trustworthy? Say, yesterday you were trustworthy. Who are you now? You go. So we do accept sometimes you are more trustworthy. Sometimes you are more generous. After a nice meal, if people looked up to you, said, we love you, we like you. Some other times everybody throws you out. Nobody wants. So you need to be in a situation that you read it such that any time, any place, you go through that unifying lens and you see it as it is. They don't like me, they don't understand, they saw me, I've come in this fashion, and 300 years ago somebody came in this way and he was a crook, so they remember that, so they throw me out. Thank you. So you don't know. So you will read that which is in the perfect moment. And every moment is perfect. And every moment appears to our mind as a balance between good and bad. If it is good, it will pass also. And you don't like it to end. Because that which is perfect is your own soul will never end. It carries on living. So you're at the edge of going beyond fear of personal death. There's no personal. Everything is in twos. Your life, my life, her life, his life, is the ladder or the rocket that propels you into the infinite space of ever-present, perpetual life. If you haven't done this, you haven't done it. No matter how many Sufi conferences or gatherings or one retreat after another. So you become a master of failure, retreating. Great. You see, every year you have 9 different retreats until even the earth gets tired. How many times have you come here for it? What are you retreating from? You're bringing your own enemy with you and you say, I'm retreating. But you really have to laugh. Who is retreating from who? So, سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى. If you read that, which precedes knowledge and ignorance, reading or not reading, if you allow that to lead you, guide you, show you, then قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Then you have succeeded by transcending yourself. If you have done that, then all is well. Your world, your day-to-day life becomes wonderful. And all of it, you understand it. That's it. So no, you don't like us to be together, fine. Let's have a nice, pleasant cup of coffee. We hug each other. We remain friends. Goodbye. Go somewhere. It doesn't matter. No, but you carry with you all that monuments of all of the other things that you have been subjected to. So you are wheeling in miserable, dead past. So you are actually wheeling in a cemetery. And according to all standard religions, not allowed to go and desecrate the dead, because there was life in it. So you respect the body because there was life in it. The body is decaying, not important. But you respect it because there was life. Now the fellow was alive, nobody cared for him. He was a rascal like most human beings. Consuming, eating, leaving, dribbling, and gets old and becomes senile, idiot. So they say, well, how can... So, but when they die, no, we have even had this school after him, and we have the Sufi center after his name, and of course they embellish the tomb, and so all of the stupidity of the idiot is forgotten. So we did a lot of airbrushing, cleaned out. No, he was, and of course everybody, it becomes a conspiracy that all of them agree to. We won't talk about all those stupidities that he did. No, we only talk about you. Very nice guy, very rahmatullahi alayhi. And you add more. Radiallahu anhu. What are you talking about? The fellow was an absolute idiot. But no, but he was this, he was. Who are you kidding? But if you kid like this, you continue, then you end up in the disastrous time we're experiencing now, of hallucinating that certain things were ridiculous, but we consider them sublime. That's the time we are living in now. So,
we did accept what Allah wills. Certainly, He knows what is manifest and what is hidden.
You will remember that which is the original movement of the dot of Bismillah, kun fayakun, the noon, the dot. You will remember your soul. You remember the light of God in you, but you have to stop any other memory. It's a promise. Quran promises you. You will come to know, but you have to stop every other movement. You have to go beyond your mind. You have to transcend all your senses. Then you read it. Iqra, first surah. What do you read? Read the situation from the outset. And then it's inner, and it's inner, and then read what Allah is putting in front of you. سَنُقْرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى. But I am still a human being, so I can't carry all of those mistakes I did. إِلَّا مَا شَاءَ اللَّهِ. So I forget. It's wonderful to forget. Forget. And then, but be present. Be in the now. And then you enter that infinitude of gratitude. Initially, you need to have an attitude of gratitude and contentment. Until such time, how can you not be content? If you are living a bit longer, or if you're dying, how can you not be? Where did you get it from? Where did you get that design from? This is sabbih. Now you are glorifying. You are in ecstatic acceptance, in a cosmic dance. And you do your own vibration, whether through your tongue or your quietness or your whatever. إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى هو الأول هو الآخر هو الظاهر هو الباطن.
And we will ease your way to a state of ease. So remind, for certainly the reminder is of benefit. He who has fear will heed.
Always twos. Everybody wants benefit. Everybody wants ease. But there are always two eases. One is physical ease, and the other one ease at heart. And there is a bit of a hierarchy. If physically you are in pain, there is a hierarchy because of survival. Everybody is worshipping and they don't know they are worshipping. You and I and everyone is worshipping life. Therefore you care for the pain. You care for the illness. Put that, and then you care for clarity of senses. And then you care for the light of your own heart, your own soul. So there is a bit of that hierarchy. So then, that is beyond ease. My soul is beyond contentment, beyond joy, beyond bliss. It is a divine, sacred truth. Honor it. Refer to it. Resonate with it.
And the most unfortunate one will avoid it, the one who will be flung to the great fire. Then he will neither die in it nor live.
Nar al-Kubra. So that implies that we have a lot of small fires here, which we do. Out of jealousy, out of fear, out of anxiety, out of hatred, out of all of the other things. We are creating these agitations, you see. And then there is a major source, which is a loss, that I did not yield to my soul, did not yield to the divine presence. That is the ultimate fire, the ultimate loss, the ultimate, failure.
He is successful who grows in purity and remembers the name of his Lord and prays.
So anytime you can hang on to one of these amazing attributes, the higher attributes, and all of it comes to سبحانك لا إله إلا أنت إني كنت من الظالمين. سبحانك, or أستغفر الله وأتوب إليه. Return back and take refuge from yourself by the light of your soul. Take refuge from your meanness. إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء. It is mean. Its nature is mean. إلا ما رحم ربي. Take refuge from human meanness in divine, perfect generosity. Take refuge of your lower self into your light of your own spirit. Astaghfirullah. Take cover in it. And do the same thing with all the other attributes. The love for more. Alhaakum at-takathur. We are more people. Watch out. Arrogance and vanity can destroy much goodness. The arrogance that our number is more. Watch out. A lot of suffering comes from that. You never know. The tiniest virus has more power than all what you can imagine in terms of human side.
But no, you prefer the life of this world, although the next world is better and more lasting.
See,
So-
akhirah is ever present. Akhirah is the hereafter, is the timelessness. It's ever present. Timelessness is the mother and the father of time. So it's ever present. There are some great teachings, and the prophetic teachings, that if you truly seek and go for and demand and get to the point of living your akhirah, now your life on earth will take on perfect order. So aim for the ultimate. Be tuned to the ultimate, to timelessness. That which is pan-ultimate, which is this world, will come to you step at a time in its own perfect way. Now there comes again Surah Al-Mulk. You may not like the coffee that you were given. Fine, you're used to something less roast or more roast, whatever. You know, we're all spoiled nowadays, you know. 200 years ago, there were these funky people emerging from somewhere in Yemen or somewhere, percolated somewhere into Austria when coffee was first discovered. It came with three things, one of which was also the stool in which they... So the cafes in Austria. Well, anyway, but now you have got such a bewildering choices. Now, it is not the coffee I like. You know, I thought they know what my tastes are. Now you have been given this, but consider it. They were used to this type here in this area, and they thought they want to be generous to you. So their intention was all right, but their action was not to your satisfaction. Fine. Maybe one day is less caffeine. Don't do it. But look at it first. Don't deny your judgment, but put your judgment aside. And you see, they were not trying to harm you. They were not trying to poison you. They're limited. They haven't traveled out of Gothenburg anywhere else in the world. So they think this is how the small world should be or whatever. That doesn't matter. Put it in its place. So...
certainly this is in the earlier scrolls, the scrolls of Ibrahim and Musa.
We all human beings are first and foremost concerned with the now. I want to be free of pain now. I want to have wealth now. I want to have peace now. Then what? You have peace. You have tranquility. You have harmony. All the neighbors every morning, hello, hi, all that boring stuff. How are you? And how is Junkie? Junkie happens to be the dog, not the child. Because people soon have no children, you see. And new animals will emerge, maybe even a cross between cats and dogs, and all kinds of things. Anyway, this is what we are heading towards, another zone in existence. So don't be surprised. You know, really, So, where we are in now, in human life, is wonderful if you manage to have these two lenses. One is the lens of you as a human being judging, loving the dunya. إِنَّ هَذَا لَفِي الصُّحُفِ الْأُولَى. This is declared from early on. All of them knew that we are creatures of earth, of heavenly origin. صُحُفِ Ibrahim wa Musa. Nothing is new. Ibrahim and those before him and other than him, people in the east and in the west, it was not exclusive to these Abrahamic people. There's no such thing. All of it is inclusive. Everyone is favored by Allah. But are you favoring the light of Allah in you? Or are you favoring the illusion of otherness, your own shadow of the so-called you? What are you reading? Who are you following? The Quran has the most brilliant description. Is it the same? There are several ayahs of the same direction. Is it the same? He who has one master, who always gives him consistent order, is he the same that he who has different masters who are quarreling between them? Let's go to the corporate world, especially if there are mostly men. If there are women, generally there is a bit of a better behavior. But generally, if there are men, their ego childishness is wheeled in. Now, so Is it the same? You're listening to one voice, or are you listening to conflicting voices? 1 minute, I am the boss, I have to appear to have authority. No, this fellow doesn't really respect me, I know, because I told him a few times. What do you want? You are subject to all kinds of different demands. Some blackmailing. You want to please everyone? You will please no one. Please the one, and you are safe from the displeasure of the others. Then you apologize. Say, please excuse me, I could not dance for you the way you wanted, or do my commentary on the Quran the way you wanted. I apologize. Thank you very much. This is what I know, and I'm please. That's it. Find somebody else, whatever it is. Be honest, be real, listen to your heart. But if the head is full of noises, every minute it has got another warning. Oh, you don't know, these people are going to discover you are really a rascal, you are not this good. How are we going to live? Live with the one, you'll find otherness are of no concern to you. In fact, you will find only oneness. If you take the entire Quran and distill it, you find two major themes emerge. One, there is only one. Master of your own, master of the communities, master of the earth, master of the universe. The other part of the entire story of the Quran is that nothing will escape, whether you thought of it, you intended it, in your mind, in your limbs, it's recorded. And you will come to see it in the Akhirah. And if Akhirah is now for you, then you'll see it now. And you don't want to pain yourself. You love yourself. You don't want to cause yourself damage. So, Maliki Yawm al-Din. وما أدراك ما يوم الدين. What is the day Yawm al-Din? Al-Quran bil-Quran. You need to absorb the whole thing. And that will be your life. That will be your raft to save yourself from yourself. It says, and what do you know about the Yawm al-Din? يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا. Nobody can help you. You can't help no one. وَالْأَمْرُ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلَّهِ. Can it not be now? Imagine yourself, you're in a cabin in the middle of the forest, 5 minutes walk, and you got yourself locked up inadvertently in the bathroom. Really, I think we should do this practice every time we have a retreat. You have some, for 8 hours, be locked in the bathroom. You see. So, who is going to help you? Who are you going to call? Imagine this moment. No one can help you except the light that is within you. It will guide you that no, so and so can also help. Fine. But how did that come? Don't deny the means, but acknowledge always the source. Thank the human beings who have been helping you. Humanity has to be established alongside its reality of divinity. So the Akhirah or the hereafter is also now. But you need to be able to stop time. Stop the illusion that I have 10 more years to live. You know, it would be wonderful if everybody is warned, because cancer is in everybody. So if you said you only have 2 days more to live, will you behave the same way? Will you still cause all kinds of havoc and misunderstanding as you do now? You have 1 day to live. You have 1 minute. You wake up. You are a soul, and the soul living forever. No fear. لا خوف عليهم. No fear, no sorrow. You are a wholesome human being. And that's not the end. You are an enlightened being or awakened being, all these funny names you give. That era is over. Now you will hear it more and more. Everybody is enlightened, but covered with a heavy, dark, if you like, mind, mental set, biographical rubbish. Get rid of that and you are a light. Everybody is enlightened, but they don't know it. Why they don't know it? Because they are occupied with the dunya. إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم. That's it. So it's an evolutionary process, physically, materially, and spiritually. There is tremendous goodness in this world. The human side has evolved a lot. The spiritual side now is going to catch up. That's side. That's why one of the things I like is catch up. It's nice. You enjoy it. So enjoy your life. And laugh at yourself. And always check who are you identified with. Your biography, your CV that you are concocting it, or the nur of Allah in you that is forever. Are you truly in respect of that? Are you in awe of that? Are you present? Or half of you in the past and the other half is worried about the future? That is what the majority are. But it's changing, it's moving, and suffering is making it. So don't ever deny the magnificent goodness of pain. If there's no pain, you lose your arm every other day, especially with these hard doors in Sweden. Really, you can do this. You know. In Africa, our doors are very flimsy, really, because the wind comes, the wind goes. But here you are hermetically sealed. So are many of the egos, hermetically sealed. High precision Swedish manufacturing. So really, wake up. The real you is inseparable from divine. And if you are on the path of what is just and what is unjust, the beginning of injustice is the baby's experience of separation from its origin, the mother. No separation from the one. أين المفر? The Quran repeatedly. Where do you run to? And wherever you go, Allah was there before. وهو معكم أينما كنتم. So watch out. You need to get the whole model. Otherwise, you will be muddled. As the Quran warns, يأخذون منه قصاصا. They take a piece of it. He says, لا إله, so kill him. He says, there is no God. Abajan, he didn't finish the sentence. So that's why you have millions of half-baked people there all the time. Why? Because there were not enough Muslims in Islam awakened, enlightened in leadership. They made it into another, if you like, domain to cow people, to get legitimacy for illegitimate power. That's what's happening. So the repercussion is global. You know, watch out! It's not only going to afflict people in Syria, or it will also come to northern Sweden. The earth, part of the whole story of closeness, of connectedness on the world, is that also. It's wonderful. Celebrate that the true manifestation of oneness is taking place at every level. And be watchful. Do not become arrogant that you have now got some higher energy of your spiritual side awakening. Be humble with it. You have been in every way given now that privilege, but with it comes great responsibility. A 6-year-old child messing about is fine. But a 30-year-old person who's dressed up nicely, they can't do that. So once you are awakening more and more to the truth that you are not separate from the one and only one, then there are more expectations and more responsibilities upon you. And you will suffer. So be aware, be accountable. Is it the right time? Is it the right place? Is it the right? Are you trying to show off? Or are you the same if there are 10 million people or no one? If you're not, then you are work in progress, which is all right. It's wonderful. Let others help also. You need to be with other people, like-minded, like-hearted. I really congratulate you. I, in every way, think you people deserve the best, and I pray for you as I pray for myself. But watch out for the nafs and glorify the ruh and realize everybody else in essence are the same, and in manifestation and in shape and in age constantly different. وَالْفَرْقُ شَرْعَتُهُ فَلَا تَنْسَهُ. As human being, all the time in changing, as divine souls, nothing ever change. وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا, and on and on. So you must read the Quran, by the Quran, with the Quran, upon the Quran, and be humble. لَا يَمَسُّهُ إِلَّا الْمُطَهَّرُونَ. Come to it with pleading, expecting the best, and be humble. Don't come in with big, expectations. The poor man came to his teacher, Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Shadili, because he was a great alim and a man, and highly, highly refined. He eventually knew he had to come to Mursi, Abdus Salam. It was up in a bit of a mountain. And it was long, it was maybe about a day's donkey ride. It was a very treacherous trip in forested mountains, which go up to about 1,000 odd meters. He reaches there, and he tells him, you must get down and do your wudu, because there is a well another hour and a half down. You see. So he was on wudu, you see, but he goes down again and does it this time. He says, water, pure, no thinking, does his wudu, and comes back. 3 hours later, he looks at him, he said, no, your wudu is not right, go and do it again. So a couple of days passes. So then it occurs, he comes to him, says, look, I've come to him as a great alim. I'm Abu al-Hasan al-Shadili. Everybody knows me. And this fellow is just a hermit on top of the mountain, but I know he knows what I want to know. So then he comes to him as a bereft. So, لا يمسه إلا, come pure, come, no you, come. And then sacredness follows, goodness follows. And that which is considered to be not necessarily acceptable or good turns to be good. This is how it is. These are not just funny, fancy miracles and magic. It is real. You find sacredness will prevail. So consecrate wherever you are, a corner in your house, in a room, so as try to make it as less polluted as possible. You can't pollute your heart. Your mind can be polluted, mucky mess. But that instrument, watch out. There are great many warnings by the Prophet ﷺ. It's like pure water, and you dropped in it one blob of black ink. It will all spread out. Jealousy, fear, hatred. Save yourself from polluting, damaging, destroying the potential of knowing that you are a soul. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you all of you who have made this possible. I enjoyed myself here very much. Now I want to continue enjoying myself, not talking anymore.
Bismillah
Welcome.
ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Welcome, Natanya. Welcome all of you.
Fatiha.
Say something.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Allah.
الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك
إياك
نستعين
نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم
غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين.
Thank you. Bismillah, Bismillah, Bismillah.